Would you look at this here? This car at one time in its life was so fast it had to have hood pins on it to keep the hood shut because it kept wanting to rip open while going down the road. Yeah, I doubt that. It was a Pontiac 350. This is just kind of a popular fad back today, a cool thing to do. It's not all bad, but in this situation here, we want to undo the hood pin holes in this hood. We want to reuse this hood. We took the little cover off, checking it out, and got a little bit of a crack here in the metal, and we got these little holes to fill in, but we want to get this hole removed, if you can remove a hole, or fill it back in, maybe a better way to say it. We're going to get this taken care of so we can get this hood off to media blasting so we can finish the bodywork on the Great Pumpkin. All right, we're going to address the smaller holes here first. Those are the attaching screw holes there. They're pretty simple. Just clean off all the paint, any rust there was any, clean it back, and we're just going to work on just filling those holes in with just the wire. Now the hole where the pin used to go through, we got that crack to worry about, and that's way too big to try to fill in just wire. You'll end up just warping the heck out of the hood. But these holes here, we'll just go ahead and do like we normally do, a couple little spots, and it should be good. That should do those. Now this here though, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to grab the drill. We're going to actually enlarge that hole and clean up the edge and make it a nice clean circle. All right, now before we go to town with the drill, this is actually kind of dented in or concave some. A little hammer and dolly work trying to straighten this hood out just a little bit before we punch a hole through it. And this is one of those cases that just work it flat again. When welding, the metal is going to draw in and shrink a little bit, so I end up hammering the whole thing again anyway. But I want to get a nice clean hole drilled in it because it's going to take care of a couple things. It's going to clean up the edge for welding and make it a nice true or at least clean circle. Now we've got our step drill bit. Punch it through to get a nice clean hole. Now we can put bigger hood pins in, all right? All right, that should work pretty good. Now it's got a chunk of pretty heavy gauge metal. This is actually leftover piece from the floor pan, so it should be plenty heavy a gauge. I'll put that underneath here, and we'll trace it out. Put the silver permanent marker, chunk of metal underneath, just trace it out. Okay, check that out now. We'll just trim this back to right at the outside edge of that circle, and we'll get it into place and get it welded. Now we're going to do this pretty simple. It's going to take the rough off with my snips here. And we'll use my grinder to clean up the edges of it. Now this is just a plain old 350 hood, I guess, in some people's eyes, but what if this was a super ultra rare 69 Trans Am hood? You want to find a way to fix the holes in that thing because those things are not cheap. Now here's another tip of the day here. Use a pair of vice grips, these kind here. Clamp it down relatively tight. And you grab your grinder, this will hold it, and you can polish that thing off to a nice clean circle. We'll get you a view here. Got that thing all trimmed down, buzzed down just a little bit. And you can see here we slide that thing right into place and super nice, clean, tight fit. I'm not actually holding it. It's actually snug right where it needs to be. That little crack is just right here. So I have to weld this way just a little bit to take care of that crack. But what I'm going to do is now go ahead and clean off that EDP primer and get this thing held into place and get some tacks going on it. All right, so what I've got here, I'm just kind of laying my little plug here. I'm laying on my little dolly so I'm going to keep my fingers on it. Put it up into place and put a couple tacks in it. Then we'll work it with a little bit of the hammer to make sure it's staying in nice and flat. and then we'll finish burning it the rest of the way in. This way. Now that corner popped up, so just a little tap. Now, let's go around a little bit at a time until you get that circle completely filled in. That should do it. Okay, not exactly my best weld job today, but you can see the heat went a little further out than I was hoping it would. But the hood's still relatively flat. Again, like I said, when you start to weld, it draws metal in, so it may actually kind of dish this out. But now we're working on buffing the weld with a little bit of our flap wheel on the grinder. Just enough to keep the heat low, and just kind of like glide across the top of it to get all this feathered out and leveled out flat. Then we'll work it with the hammer and dolly, and work out the stress of the weld and get the thing, maybe to get the, if it does concave some, get it stretched back out. Now, if you look at what we have, it's all ground down nice and flat. And of course, there's some spots in the welds here that probably could do a little bit more. But you can tell there's no bluing or discoloration when grinding. You just kind of let that grinder just kind of glide across top of it. Now, it's warm to the touch, but it's not smoldering hot. I'm not just pushing on that metal. I'm letting that grinder just take the high spots off and let it kind of glide across. Right now, the hood contour feels pretty good. I feel just a little bit low here. So what we'll do, once that cools, we'll see which way it distorts. We'll work on hammering and dollying that out some. So I'll give this thing a few minutes to cool off. I just honestly, you may be wondering what the inside of this looks like. And of course, I used a chunk of the old quarter to protect my metal, but the inside here, you can see it penetrates through, but not very far. So we're just gonna need some very light buffing here on the inside of the hood to take care of these little bumps here, but it laid out and burned all the way through really nice. So that's just about cooled off, but I don't see it's really distorted the hood a whole lot. Very minimal. I mean, we're probably within a 1/16 of an inch of filler, but we've got a little bit of a low spot. I can feel it right in here. So we'll work on hammering that up some just a little bit, but I think we just about got this thing licked. Went ahead and buffed the inside of the hood because I'm going to work on actually hammering up here just a little bit. And I want to hit on the welds. It may cause a dimple on the top. So I wanted to level this off best I could. But we're going to work on just lightly hitting this area here and see if we can get that corner to walk up just a little bit. All right, put that there. I'll work on... There we go. I think that did. It didn't take much at all. That actually looks really good now. Okay, so there you have it. No more hood pin hole, so no more driving fast in the old bird. No, actually, that's not the case. We wanted to remove these. That was the look we're going for on this build. Feels really good. So this is now ready to go ahead, and I'm going to send this thing off to media blast. Going to have blast the inside and the top side here, because I started discovering quite a bit of rust underneath the paint. Somewhere in the life of this car, it's had some work done in here. They didn't treat the metal right, and these are just little rust pits. I think I'd feel better if this is media blasted or just hand sanded. So, anyway, nonetheless, this is done. How bad did we do? I can tell you that feels good by hand, but I got my little gauge here to kind of show you how close it actually is. We'll go ahead and shoot that down the hood here, and you look at it, you do see just an ever so slight little gap right there. If I can really go straight through, you might see some daylight. We're definitely way under the 1/8 inch tolerance, maybe not even as thick as a credit card. So I'm going to call that good enough, what we got going here. Super happy with the results. So next thing here, I'm going to take this hood off, pull the badges off it, put it in the back of the old crap-a-lanch, and go to the media blasting place. And if you see the little shiny bumper thing back there, well, that's got to be taken apart. That's the front bumper assembly. I'm going to finish taking those brackets, so when I get those back and get that painted, and keep on working towards getting this car painted. You know, now that I think about it, those are probably the last holes that we need to weld shut here on the Great Pumpkin. That's been quite the fun journey, welding this car back together. You know, this thing has been completely gutted, overhauled, and rebuilt here in the garage. So I'm going to put the weld away till next time. So I'm not sure what we're going to get into when we get that thing back out, but definitely going to do some more welding on the channel at some point. But nonetheless, next thing, I'll drop the hood off, and we're going to get into doing some more of the body work. I got all the stuff basically roughed in. You can see my little tape on the side of the car. Maybe the camera, maybe you can't. Marking all the stuff that needs a little tweaking. What we're going to do is we're going to use this stuff here. It's a finishing putty, polyester base, whatever stuff. There's many different manufacturers. Evercoat makes it. I mean, there's probably 20 different flavors of this stuff. I mean, it all tastes the same. And for the most part, it all works about the same. But this stuff's gotten expensive. It's $50 right here for this little stuff. So use it sparingly. Get your body work dialed in as best you can with your regular body filler. Then you just finish it off with that. Then we're going to end this stuff about 320 grit sandpaper. Then we're going to do our high build primer. And then we're going to do some sealer and some paint. So I may do a little video on doing some work with this here. Other than that, I'm going to keep working behind the scenes on a lot of body work and blocking out. That stuff's not, you know, I've kind of already showed you stuff. It's just, you know, repeat process for every square inch of the body. So it just takes a lot of time behind the scenes. So I'll still try to get some videos out to you. And, of course, anything you would like to see, let me know just the same. I'll definitely get that put in video form for you. Like the front bumper here, going to send that thing off, get the brackets media blasted. But then I might test fit that new OER brand front bumper on this car and see how good, bad, or indifferent, or if I love it or hate it. I'd like to have a nice, clean bumper. I guess what I'd like to know is, what front bumpers are you guys using on your 67 and 68 birds? I know original is best, but this one's twisted, dented, and pretty rusty. Not having it refinished is probably not practical for this build, so I bought an OER brand. So let me know what you guys use, or what does or doesn't work, or what you've tried, and let me know your results. But nonetheless, I may do some videos on tweaking that too, just the same. So I've rambled on enough. Starting to rain. I may shut her down for today, find some Orange Mountain Dew, have a sip, come with some more video ideas. I hope to grab the camera, and see you guys then.